Within clinics and hospitals, it is common for myths or legends to arise as a result of certain comments that may appear as a result of experiences that occurred during the guards or after a heavy workday. It is not uncommon for the strenuous workdays to which doctors are subject to predispose them to seeing things or people that aren't really there. But what happens when the experiences coincide? In this video, you are about to see some of the stories and news stories about creepy beings who took control of hospitals. A devil in the hospital. This photo appeared on Reddit's website about 2 months ago and was immediately posted on the internet. The author who published this assured that the photo was taken with a surveillance monitor in the room of a dying patient. A few hours after the monitor recorded this image, the patient died in bed. The figure shown in the photograph is reminiscent of the classic devil, black with horns and yes, even with his helmet. There is no evidence, nor is it known where the photo was taken, so some Reddit users have catalogued it as fake. What do you think? Don't let them take me. A nurse related that one night she was assigned to the oncology area at the hospital where she used to work. She was assigned a patient who was dying and had been unconscious for several days due to the severity of his illness. At one point during the night shift, the nurse entered the room and saw the patient at the top of the camera, who looked at her and said, "Don't let them take me." The nurse was frightened and asked the patient about who wanted to take him. He replied, pointing up, "The black thing that floats in the air." The story ends here as the nurse says she fainted and couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. The Hospital of Morelia. The following story has its origin in the hospital in Morelia, Michoacan in Mexico. It is a hospital that to this day is still active, but in the depths of its corridors and rooms, there are countless appearances and supernatural presences that very few have lived in flesh and blood. The only one with the bad luck of having lived it was the caretaker of the building, who is the one who knows with certainty the strange things that happen inside the hospital when there is practically no one hanging inside. It is said that in the operating room of the hospital, a man appears every night who inexplicably goes through walls and sometimes emits heart-rending cries, which are believed to come from that soul in pain that cannot rest. In the morgue room, where dead bodies are stored, there are frequently strange noises, sounds of broken glass, and a squeal of doors as if opening and closing them. As you pass through that enclosure, you feel a horrifying sensation as if someone was watching all the time. The Tall Man. A vigilante named Benitez told the Chilean television how he had spent the night of October 31st, 1997. The grim story he told describes how the passages became narrower, the voices of empty rooms screamed out wounded, and the few hospitalized patients were asleep in another section of the hospital. It was the watchman who was in the camera room. He perceived before midnight the noise described above and went out through the corridors to find out if any of the patients had gone out to smoke a cigarette in the corridor. But he found nothing. The lights and doors crashed and went out at intermittent intervals. He wanted to explain away this event with some wind that came in or even the possibility of an earthquake, but the ground remained intact and motionless. It was a tall man who left the corridor directly and steadily towards the watchman. Alarmed, the man wanted to use the radio, which failed, and had no better idea than to shout at the curious character, who was hard to see in the fading light. But fear gained him, and he went back to hide in the camera room. He didn't see anything there.